This is the question asked in today's skillrack daily challenge. So we will be given 4 student names and their marks obtained in maths, physics and chemistry as input. So here the first student name is Hector and his marks obtained in the 3 subjects are 99, 80 and 80. Similarly, the next student is Gavin and these are the marks obtained by him. And then the third student is Rachel and his marks are 80, 85 and 79. Similarly, the fourth student is Oliver. So now our task is to print the student name and the total marks obtained by him in the output. So in the output we have to follow a pattern such a way that first we have to print only the first student name and then the first 2 students and then the first 3 students and the first 4 students name. So here in our output we can see that first we are printing only the first student name Hector and after that we are printing the first 2 students name. So here we will be including the name of Hector as well as the second student Gavin. And now we have to print the first 3 students name. So here after this we are printing Hector, Gavin and Rachel. So we have printed the first 3 students name and after this we have to print the first 4 students name. So again we have to print Hector, Gavin, Rachel and other. So this is how we should be printing our output. So our task is actually to define a function named printStudent in which we have to use the periodic functions. So now let us see the code which is already given to us. So this is the code which is given to us. So first let us see what we are doing here. So here first we are importing a new header file named stdarg.h and then we are creating a structure named student and this structure has 3 variables. So the first variable is a character array named name in which we will be storing the student name and then we have 3 integer variable maths, physics and chemistry. So this is the structure named student and it is a user defined data type. And then in the main function we are creating 3 variables for the data type named student. So the 4 variables are student1, student2, student3 and student4 and then using the scanf statement we are accepting the 4 student names as well as their marks obtained in maths, physics and chemistry. And after accepting the input we are calling a function named printStudents for 4 times. So while calling it for the first time in the arguments we are giving integer 1 and 1 student and then while calling it for the second time we are giving the integer 2 and we are giving 2 student, so student 1 and student 2. Similarly while calling it for the third time we are giving 3 and we are giving the first 3 students. Similarly in the fourth time we are giving the integer 4 and we are giving all the 4 students as in the arguments. So now our task is to define this function named printStudents using periodic functions in order to get the output in the pattern which we have already seen. So now let us see how we will be defining this function named printStudents. So this function printStudent doesn't return anything. It is just directly going to print the student's name. So I am setting the return type as void and then the name of the function is printStudents and in the arguments first we will be given an integer. So I am accepting that integer and I am storing it into a variable named n and after this we will be given the arguments. So either we will be given 1 student or we will be given 2 student or 3 or 4. So instead of writing the function for each and everything we can keep 3 dots so that we can accept any number of arguments after this integer n. So in order to do this only we are including this new header file named stdarg.h. So after including this header file we will be having some access to the methods and data types. So some of them are the VA list and then the VA start and VA end and similarly this VA ARG. So these header files come under the header file stdvarg.h. So using these methods now we are going to iterate through the arguments which we have received. So first we have to store the arguments. So I am creating a new VA list and I am naming it as ARGS. And now we have to call the start method. So using this method VA underscore start. In the arguments we have to give the list. So the list in which our arguments is stored is args. So args, and it has n number of arguments, so we have to give that also in the arguments. So I'm setting va start and in the arguments args comma n, and now we have to iterate through the n arguments. So I'm creating a loop that iterates for n number of times. So in every iteration we will be iterating through the arguments which we have received for the function named printStudents. So in order to iterate through it, we will be using this va underscore arg, and again in the parameters we have to give args, and next we have to give the data type. So here the data type is student, so it is a user defined data type. So the structure is nothing but a user defined data type. Suppose if the n arguments are of integer, then we have to give int, but in this case it is a user defined data type named student, so I am giving student. So now we have the student details. Now our task is to print the student name as well as the total marks obtained by him. So this user defined variable student has 4 variables: name, max, physics and chemistry. So the max, physics and chemistry are of integer data type, and the name is alone character array. So using the dot operator we can access those values. So in every iteration of the loop, in order to print the student name, in the printf statement we can say stud dot name, and then in order to calculate the total marks we can just add the values of stud.max, stud.physics, similarly stud.chemistry. So we can add those values and print it with the student name in every iteration of this loop. And finally we have to give va end arguments. So this is the logic to solve today's daily challenge. Thank you for watching.